Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Hope everyone is having a great week. Very special show tonight. If you're a college football fan, you're going to love tonight's show. First time ever we've had a coach on the show, so we're really looking forward to it. But before we bring on tonight's first guest, let's bring on one of my co-hosts, former national championship quarterback with the Florida A&M Rattlers and voice of the Rattlers football and basketball broadcast with Melvin Beal, Al the Rattler Chester.
What's going on, man? What's going on, Les? My man, how you doing? Hey, man, it's wet here in Jacksonville, but we're staying inside, away from all that haze, gray weather, but all good here, man. Good to see you again, man.
Al, you got to get that black cloud out of Jacksonville and get some sunny skies, brother. You got to get that for me. So we got a good one tonight. I know you know our first guest very, very well, but before we bring on our guest, let's have Tony run tonight's opening reel.
Third down and 7. Elon trying to make a play on defense. And Samir Hagan's good catch and run. Looked like he was hemmed in along that far sideline.
Swartz Talkin Sports is proud to bring for tonight's show former FAMU national championship coach and Duke Blue Devil running back coach Willie Simmons. So let's bring on Coach Simmons. Hi, Coach.
Look out, Coach. How you
How's
doing,
it going,
man?
guys? Man, it's going awesome. Great to be on with you guys.
Coach, thanks for taking some time. I know you're preparing for a big game this week, and let's see if the Blue Devils can make it 3-0 this week. But I know there's a lot to talk about, a lot to get into it. I know you and Al have a great relationship. You know, you coached the undefeated FAMU team last year to a national championship over Howard. So, Al, we'll let you get started.
Hey, Coach, thanks again, man, for taking time to give us some love, man. But for the folks who don't know you, man, let's talk about where it all started for you as a player. I mean, people talk, they know your greatness. They see your greatness as a coach. But I tell everybody you were a hell of a football player, a hell of an athlete. Talk to us about Gaston County, man, where it all started for you.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. And typically whenever I'm on a show, I'm usually the best quarterback on the show. But today I'll humbly take second fiddle to the great Albert Chester. You know, but it all started for me in a small town of Quincy, Florida, you know, about 20 miles west of Tallahassee. You know, we have a lot of pride in our county, so we have to correct everyone who says that I'm from Tallahassee. I'm from Quincy. I was born in Tallahassee at the hospital, but again, was born and raised in Gadsden County there and played my high school ball there at Shanks High School. And, you know, was afforded a great career. Was able to earn a football scholarship to Clemson University. And was blessed to be there for 4 years and get my degree in 3 years in marketing. Transferred out my senior year, finished up at the Citadel, where we led them to their first non-losing season in over 10 years. And I was the first team all-conference SoCon quarterback there. And played a season of arena football up in Iowa before I decided to hang the cleats up and get into coaching. And started my career down at Lincoln High School there in Tallahassee, coaching quarterbacks, Coach B.J. Daniels, who went on to be an NFL quarterback, played at the University of South Florida. And then I was blessed to be hired on Rick Stockstill's staff at Middle Tennessee State. Coach Stockstill recruited me out of high school, signed me to Clemson, and gave me my first opportunity as a full-time coach. And that was 18 years ago. And it's been a great journey, a wild ride, a lot of ups and downs, learned a lot. But again, it's afforded me the opportunity to coach at the highest level, to become a coordinator at a young age, to become a head coach at 34 years old, and now, you know, be in the Power Four here at Duke with Coach Manny Diaz, who I worked with at Middle Tennessee State. So again, it's been a great ride so far, and looking forward to what's ahead.
Now, wait a minute, Coach. Wait a minute. Wait. You left out a little 2-week span where you had on an orange and green helmet between Citadel and Clemson. You got to tell us about that now.
Well, all my true Rattlers know that story. When I left Clemson back in 2003, the plan was to transfer to Florida A&M. Of course, to go play for the hometown team. You know, that was always kind of the unspoken rule for all of us that if we ever left, our first choice, you know, we were going to come home to fam. And was able to go down there and practice for a couple of weeks. There with Coach Billy Joe and look forward to running the Gulf Coast offense. Unfortunately, FAMU had plans to transition to Division I FBS. 1A at the time. And this was before all the loose transfer rules. And so because FAMU had gotten accepted into 1A, any transfer had to sit out a year. And because I couldn't afford to sit out a year, I only had 1 year of eligibility left. I had to leave and find a home. And fortunately for me, Citadel was a great landing spot. But, it's one of those bittersweet things because we still talk about what could have been. That team that Billy Joe had put together back in 2003, man, it was something. It was a sight to see. I think we had 18 transfers from Power 5 programs there. And, we were going to play University of Miami that year. So it was going to be interesting to see how that team would have come together. But again, the good Lord saw fit to bring me back in 2018 as the head football coach there. And we were able to create our own magic there. So, yeah, it's still something we talk about and think about. But, the good Lord has his own plan.
Coach,
we're so glad it did.
Coach, so you had a magical run last year with FAMU. When you got the call from Manny Diaz to move to Duke, was it a difficult decision? You were home at Florida A&M. Was it an easy decision, going to a Power 4? What were your emotions when you got the call, and how long did it take you to actually make that decision to make the jump to Duke?
Well, it definitely wasn't an easy decision. Again, I grew up there 20 minutes from Tallahassee. My mom was the first individual in our maternal family to go to college, and she went to FAMU. All of her siblings followed her to FAMU. My grandparents have a plaque on their wall from President Ammons commemorating the fact that they sent 6 of their kids to FAMU to get degrees. My wife's a 2-time graduate from FAMU. Our oldest son, Trey, graduated from there. So FAMU's in our blood. My godbrother Eddie Battle played for Coach Ken Riley back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so it's a place that means a lot to me personally. And when I took the job back in 2018, FAMU had kind of fallen on tough times. I had 6 or 7 straight losing seasons. And so my goal was to bring the program back to national prominence, what I grew up seeing. And so I always said that when that time came, I wanted to make sure that I left the program in good shape. And, we had a magical year, 12-1 season, a Celebration Bowl championship, finished the season ranked number 5 in FCS, had the offensive player of the year in the conference, defensive player of the year in the conference. I was the coach of the year. And we felt we had a great foundation moving forward. And so when Coach Diaz gave me the call to express his interest in me coming to Duke, I always prayed, and my wife and I, that when the situation presented itself, that it would check all the boxes. And so one, a great institution academically, a great area, and to work for someone that I felt that I had a great relationship with that would allow me to continue to grow as a coach. And so, of course, academically, Duke's a top 10 academic institution. The Raleigh-Durham area is absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. And Coach Diaz is a guy that I've worked with in the past, have a great amount of respect for, great relationship with, love his approach to coaching, to developing young men. And so, again, it just felt like all the boxes were checked. And after sending out my wife and talking about it, we pondered on it for about a week. And then made the decision to leave FAMU and come to Durham. Wasn't an easy choice by any stretch of the imagination, but I think anyone who's been around me for the last 6 years knows that my blood will always be on the green. I mean, I still wear, if you see it, still wear my FAMU armband. For about the first 6 months, my backpack still had my FAMU lanyard hanging off of it. I finally took it off, but again, it's a place that will always be in my heart, whether I'm coaching there or not.
Les, he's dressed in blue and white, but if you cut him, he bleeds orange and green. How about that?
I believe it. Coach, Al speaks glowingly of you, and we think that you're sooner than later you're going to end up getting a top job in a top 4 program, no doubt about it. Now, we do have a live audience tonight, so we're going to have some questions for the coach. So if you're out there, hit the subscribe button, like us, comment, and we got Coach Simmons here for a little bit. So if you got any questions to ask about his career, playing, coaching, and the Duke Blue Devils, please throw them out there, and Joni will let the coach know. Coach, I had a question for you right off the get-go, and that's from a running back coach's perspective. When you grab your running backs and you go do the group, you break into the groups and you go into your room, What are the big things you like to coach up? Is it like ball security? Is it field vision? Is it pass protection? Is it route running? What are the types of things, and how much time do you spend on each one of these different abilities that the running backs need to do to be successful?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the things in today's era of coaching young men that I think you have to be very mindful of is, one, the limited amount of time you actually have with them. The NCAA only allows 20 hours a week to do any football-related activity. So anything that we, quote-unquote, mandate that they do, we have to dock that, and it's 20 hours. So that's practice, that's weights, that's meetings, the whole nine. And so you don't have as much meeting time as people may think. Now, they still have class. I mean, we're at Duke. So, of course, missing class is not an option. So we have to make sure we get them out in time to get to class. So we have about 30 minutes, sometimes 40, to try to pack a meeting in. And so now you're watching practice from the day before, making corrections. You're looking at the opponent for the coming week. And so this week we're looking at a lot of film on UConn and what they do defensively. And for me, I try to take the approach, of kind of a holistic approach to the position. I don't really just coach the basic fundamentals of running back play. I've been blessed to be a head coach for 9 years and to be a play caller for 13. And so I see the game from a head coach's perspective, from a play caller's perspective. And so just trying to talk to the running backs about the overall aspect of football, not just the read keys on this run play, but what the defense is trying to do. Why are they lining up in this front? What's the difference between an even front and an odd front? What's safety rotation look like? How does that help you get your eyes to your keys and protection? But the thing you spend the most time on, obviously, is pass protection, because no matter how great you carry the football, we know the $1 million man is the one beside you that's pulling the trigger. And if you can't protect that guy, then you can't play. And the running back is the last line of defense for any defender trying to get to the quarterback. So we have to make sure that we're flawless in protection. And then just, read keys and things of that nature in the run game is probably what we spend the second most time on. But I don't spend a lot of time coaching ball security, obviously, because, that's just something that has become nature. So when they had practice, every time they carry a football, we're stressing ball security is there. So we don't spend as much time in the meeting room talking about it because, again, it's something that has become habitual. But pass protection and read keys in the run game are probably the things that we spend the most time on.
Spoken like a true head coach, Al.
Hey, no doubt about it. Hey, Willie, one of the things that we talked about in pregame, and I've talked since the FAMU season has kicked off, is the culture that you set, the culture that you manifest and built right there at FAMU. Talk a little bit about how important that culture is, because we got 30 new players that came in at FAMU, and all they had to do was get in where they fit in because the Willie Simmons culture was there, and we saw that in the last 2 games, actually the last 3 games. But it's a mindset. It's a different game now. The kids are different than when you played. I know damn well they're different than when I played. So talk to us about that culture, how important it is to establish a culture, that winning culture across the board in everything they do with football.
Yeah, well, first, I think it's important to note that it's not necessarily Willie Simmons' culture that was built there. It was FAMU's culture. And my job was to find a way to bridge the academic culture with the athletic culture, with the alumni culture, and everything that makes FAMU the special place that it is. And so that was my mission the entire time there, to make our players understand what they're part of. When I got the job back in 2018 and I walked through Gallimore Power Fieldhouse, there were no remnants of the 78 championship team. They had no idea that the guy that's calling the game is the national championship quarterback that FAMU beat Miami in 1979, that would only HBCU to ever win an FCS 1AA national championship. So again, when Courtney Gaucher got the job as athletic director, we sat down and I said, hey, we need to brand this place so that when they walk in the building every day, they're reminded of what this place is and what makes it special. None of the players knew the school alma mater. So what do we do now at every game? They go sing the alma mater. And just to make sure that they understand the culture that they're a part of. So I think that, along with recruiting talented young men, was what really transformed the place to what it is now. And I think Coach Coles has been a part of that for the last 2 years, was able to keep enough of that infuse into this current team. And obviously he's put his own spin on it. But there are some things that he's kept from the last few years. And I think those things are going a long way in them winning 2 fourth-quarter games, the first 2 games of the season.
Well, Coach, we've got a few questions here. The green light's lit up for questions for Coach Simmons, Duke running backs coach. So let's have the amazing Joni, our chat girl, throw a couple questions out to Coach Simmons.
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Les. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Rob asks, and I think, Coach, that you've already kind of answered this, but Rob asks, at what point during your playing career did you realize you wanted to coach? Like, what inspired you?
Well, that's actually funny that you asked that. So I mentioned Rick Stockstill. He recruited me to Clemson out of high school, and I spent 4 years there with him. And every so often, I'd be walking through the facility and obviously spend a lot of time in his office. He would say, Willie, you're a smart guy. If you can do something other than coach, do it. And I thought that was always funny that he would say that. And at the time, I had no desire to coach. I was a marketing major. So in my mind, if I didn't play in the NFL, I was going to be a sports agent. If not, pharmaceutical sales, insurance sales, something along those lines. And it wasn't until I got done playing arena ball that an opportunity presented itself. A good friend of mine, called and asked if I'd be interested in coaching the quarterback there at Lincoln. I knew what type of program Lincoln was, and it was kind of that gap time in my personal life where I was done with football, but not really quite sure what I was going to do with myself. So I said, hey, I'll kill time by coaching over here while I go on some interviews for insurance sales and pharmaceutical sales. And it took about 2 days on the practice field before I realized that was my calling. Just the relationships that I built with the players, just seeing how they gravitated to me, how I built relationships with them that even last to this day, and just seeing the pitfalls that I had as a player, some of my teammates, I could now help make sure that those guys didn't have to go through those same things. And that's been my coaching philosophy really the entire time. It's about the student athlete. It's about those young men that we get a chance to lead and guide every single day to help them achieve their goals. But even more than the athletic goals, help them be the great men that they're capable of being. Great husbands, great fathers, great community leaders, and people that will continue to make change in this great country.
That's a great question, Rob. Now, Rob flew all the way from England to ask that question for you, Coach. So I think we have a few more questions, Joni.
We do. Barry Smith asks, too many players under you went on to become stars. Who stands out the most?
Ooh.
Wow. That is a great question. I've been blessed. I've coached some really, really great players. I've had players of the year on offense. I had player of the year last year on defense with Isaiah Major. We currently have 4 guys on NFL rosters. And so I've really had some great players. The best player, the most talented player, I would say, is Marquise Bell. We signed Marquise Bell in 2019. He was a 4-star safety coming out of high school. And just his combination of size, speed, athleticism, ball skills, he checked every box. And he was an extremely hard worker, loved the game, really, really put everything he had into being a big-time athlete. And obviously everyone can see the career that he's had, only 2 years into the NFL, being the Cowboys' second-league tackler. So, like I said, I've been blessed to coach a lot of really good players. But the moment Marquise Bell stepped on the field, on the practice field, we knew that we had a once-in-a-generation type player.
Yeah, that's a great question, Barry. Coach, before we go to a couple more questions, and I know we have more out there, let's talk about your team this year. You jump right into it at Duke, and you're Jacquez Moore, who is really going to tote the rock for you guys this year. He was going to be the lead back. He goes down with injury last week early. Any update on his situation and who's going to pick up the slack in the backfield for him?
Yeah, Jacquez suffered a high ankle sprain last week. He didn't come back to the game. He's questionable for this week's game as he recovers from that. Got a really good report today from the head athletic trainer, as a matter of fact. But Star Thomas, transfer running back from New Mexico State that we brought in this summer, and Peyton Jones, true sophomore running back that we had last year, they both came in and picked up the slack. Star had close to 60 yards rushing. Peyton, is continuing to prove and show that he needs to play more. And so this weekend, if Jacquez can't go, I see those two guys pretty much, splitting reps. They're both very dynamic, both explosive guys, and both bring something to the table. So I'm excited about those two guys. And then we will have, Al Wooten, another transfer, FCS player from Mercer, and Karan Boyd, a redshirt freshman who was on last year's team. As guys ready to go in as well. But really looking forward to seeing what Star Thomas and Peyton Jones can do this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw it. Like I said, we're watching the game Friday night. It went to. You guys came back. We've got a couple of plays here. If Tony can pull these things up, I kind of want to recap last week's game. We have some clips on it. In his, maybe you can talk about this. Is Malik's first touchdown pass to Eli Pancol?
Yeah, there's an RPO there. Eli did a great job of winning on his one-on-one route. And Malik saw an open space there and fired a dart. That's one of the things that makes Malik special. He's got a big-time arm talent. He's 6'5", so he can see over most offensive lines, and did a great job of throwing the strike. Eli caught it in stride and got us on the board there early. So it was a big play to get the momentum going.
And then you got Polino's 22-yarder to send this thing into OT. You had me going. I had to go. We had to go through. I had to get through the uprights there. Coach going to be in a good mood, so he got that one. And then once you got to overtime, Malik really took over. Beautiful pass here to Jordan Moore for 25 yards.
Yeah, great play. Great play call there by Coach Brewer. We had hit that RPO glance a few times during the second half, and that really got into a rhythm. And so we figured, that the safeties would be really aggressive, trying to take that away. And so it was a double move there by Jordan Moore. Malik made a great throw to put us on the board. The first touchdown of overtime. Defense, obviously, defense took the field first. So once they scored, we got the ball and scored. And then obviously because of overtime rules, we had to get the ball again to start the next drive. And then we were able to drive it down. And of course, Malik found Eli again on the back shoulder fade ball to put us up. And the defense had been playing lights out all game and had a huge fourth down stop there to preserve the win. So big time overtime win. Every day in practice, we do what we call ring the bell. Again, I'm not going to go into where that comes from, but oftentimes the ring the bell drill is overtime. And so that wasn't the first time that our guys had been in an overtime type situation. So really excited about the poise that they showed during that time and being able to get a big time road win against a quality 8-win team in Northwestern. And again, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first Power 4 road win for Duke in the last 2 seasons. Yeah,
really, really big win, Al, for the program.
Yeah, I tell you what, I always like to look at the quarterbacks. Willie was a quarterback, so I'm at awe with Malik. I mean, he's a big kid with a great arm. Give me your assessment of Malik, man. I saw him at Texas, but I mean, him coming to Duke, and blending in with the talent that you already have there, and couple that with the guys who already you pull in from the portal. Talk to us about Malik, man. Tell me about the big guy.
Yeah, I think that was Coach Diaz's first big get once he got the job, and he's said it in his press conference. He's mentioned it multiple times since then. This Duke program is willing to go toe to toe in recruiting with anyone. We just had a big time commitment flip from a major program a couple of weeks ago. But it started with Malik, to be a 4-star recruit and one of the highest rated quarterbacks in the transfer portal, to be able to bring him here to Duke, really set a great foundation for this program moving forward. But like I said, he's 6'5", he's 235 pounds. He has a howitzer for an arm much better than you and I, Chester. We would not play catch with Malik. We'd be too embarrassed to go play catch with Malik. But I mean, he can make every throw. He'll remind you of Joe Milton, and Anthony Richardson, the way he throws the football. The ball really jumps off out of his arm, and he throws one of the best deep balls I've ever seen. I prided myself on having a great deep ball, but Malik puts the ball in spots, 35, 40, sometimes 50 yards downfield on the money. And so again, his ability to make every throw and push the ball from hash to sideline really opens up this offense, because it's an offense that's geared around spreading the field, pushing it vertical, and really keeping stress on the defense.
And to be successful in college football, you got to have a guy who can spin it. You got to have a guy who can pull the trigger, and Malik is that guy for Duke, no doubt.
Well, he's super athletic. I mean, Riley Leonard could run the football, and we saw what he did last year, and he goes to Notre Dame. But I think Malik maybe is more athletic than Riley, and I definitely think he's got a better arm. He throws a better deep ball, and we'll get to Riley Leonard in the interception against Northern Illinois. So I like your chances with Malik Murphy, but we have a couple more questions here from some of our live viewers for Coach Willie Simmons. So Joni, let's line them up and fire them.
Okay, one of our viewers, Melvin Beal, he wants to know, how involved are you in recruiting of players?
Oh, Melvin, you know he was going to jump on tonight, Chester. Couldn't resist himself. but great to hear from you, Melvin. Obviously at this level, recruiting is the lifeblood of a program like this. And so every day is active recruiting. You know, we're writing letters, we're making phone calls. I probably had to hit delete, not delete, but cancel about 3 recruiting calls since I've been on this call. So as soon as I jump off, I got to call these young men back to make sure that they know I'm not neglecting them. So it's a huge part of any program, particularly at this level. And again, I've been as far west as California and as far north as New York, scouring the country for running backs. And I'll do the same, come January, God willing. So it's a place that you have to recruit nationally because of our academic standards. You got to find the right type of young man, not one that can just play football, but who's very serious about academics and really has a plan in his life to get a degree from Duke. And but again, it takes you going across the country to find those guys sometimes. But I'm heavily involved in recruiting. Probably the biggest difference between being a head coach and a position coach. As a head coach, you were kind of the closer. As a position coach, you're boots on the ground every single day. You better do something recruiting or you're going to fall behind.
Well, Coach, the truth is Duke's always been known as a basketball school, right? First and foremost, Mike Krzyzewski, and now Shara's there and things like that. But, Spurrier proved in the late 80s that you could win at Duke and you can do it at a high level. Then you got Cutcliffe came in. He had a couple of 10-win seasons, some really good seasons, and Elko did it as well. So you really do have to look at Duke as a preeminent program, as a riser in the ACC. It's not just a basketball program, and as long as you guys recruit, the fans will come out. And I think you have a really solid fan base when it comes to football.
Yeah, no, I think that's one thing that we're very excited about here, and Coach Diaz has made that point since he took the job. This place has been phenomenal for as long as anyone can remember. We got one of the top academic schools in the nation, one of the top medical schools in the nation, one of the top business schools, one of the top basketball programs. And so if all these things are great and amazing, well, what's keeping football from being in that same breath? And so it really was just an overall commitment from everyone, from the president to the alum and everyone. And so they've been on board. The facility upgrades that we've had since we've been here, debuted a brand new locker room this summer, literally just finished our 3rd floor, which is our players lounge area, that will debut this weekend for our recruits to be able to see. And again, just the things that we're doing within this program to show that we're committed to compete at the highest level, and compete for championships. And that's something that our alum have really, really bought into, and we're excited to see the future of Duke football under Coach Diaz's leadership.
Well, let's get a few more questions, Al. I know before because I know we can't keep Coach all night. He's got to call those recruits back, and he's got to reel a few in. But I think we got a couple more questions out here. So, Joni, why don't we throw them at the coach?
Okay, Kevin Campbell. He asks, Coach, outside of football and as the father of 6, what is the one thing that you would want a prospective recruit to know about Willie Simmons?
Coach, our viewers ask very good questions. They do some in-depth research.
Homework. Yeah.
Yeah, that is some homework. And indeed, my wife and I, we're proud parents of 6, beautiful, intelligent individuals. But yeah, I think, the thing that I want any recruit to know about me is just the authenticity. I tell them all the time, I'm not a recruiter. I don't quote unquote recruit. I just build relationships. I want to build genuine, authentic relationships that extend beyond whether you come play for me or not. I'm going to recruit probably 25 running backs a year, and I'm probably only going to tell 3 of them yes if they come play for us. And so I'm going to have to tell a lot more guys no than I'm going to have to tell yes. So if the only point in all of this is just to find the 2 or 3 yeses, then I think you're going about this the wrong way. There are a ton of young men over my 19 years in doing this that I have not signed, that have not played for me, that I still have relationships with to this day because of the relationships we built throughout the recruiting process with the prospective student athlete, with their parents, with their siblings, with their significant others. I get wedding, request invites. I get photos of newborn kids. I get texts about new jobs. And again, these are from people that never even played for me. And I think that's the beauty of this thing, that every day you get to build relationships with over 100 individuals. And so I'm a relationship-driven person. And I think that's the one thing that I would want any recruit to know about me. It's not about you just coming to play for me. It's about the fact that I want to build a genuine, authentic relationship and help you achieve all of your goals and make sure that you can be the young man and eventually grown man that you aspire to be.
Willie, you're a marketing guy, and the landscape of college football has changed. Real quick, tell me your thoughts on the NIL and the portal and the effect it's having on the game, and how do you see it in the years to come?
Well, I think you and I can both agree. We wish NIL was in place back when we played. Having to call home and ask mom for $20 to take my girlfriend to a movie, was a little embarrassing back then. But no, I think, it's something that's been long overdue. For years, student athletes have bled, sweated, cried to play sports at these prestigious institutions. And again, oftentimes, risking injury, putting themselves in harm's way for this game, and for those who say, well, you were getting a full scholarship and all those things, clearly they've never played, major college sports. Because again, it takes more than just a scholarship to live. And that's why before NIL, it was cost of attendance, because the NCAA realized that it takes more than tuition, room and board, books and fees to survive in college. You got to put gas in your car. You got to fly home, during the off season. You want to fly your parents to see your games. And back then we had to foot the bill on all those things. And so the ability to pay cost of attendance was a huge step. And then with the marketing piece, with the NIL piece, it took it to the next level. So I think like anything else, if it's not regulated, it can get out of hand. So I do think there needs to be some regulations put in place to make sure that everybody's on a level playing field. I know you can't necessarily cap it per se, but there are some things that you can do to make it to where people aren't put at a competitive disadvantage. But I do think it's good for college football. And then the same thing with the transfer portal. Like I said, back then the transfer portal was in place. I would have been able to spend my last season at Florida A&M because that's where I wanted to be. I was from there. My mom was going through some health issues. I wanted to be closer to her, and I'd already got my degree. And so again, I fulfilled my obligations to Clemson University by going there to get my degree. And so if that was in place then, I would have been able to finish my career there. So I do think, again, it's a benefit. I do think, like I said, there needs to be some type of regulation. The idea of transferring year after year after year, it can be problematic, obviously, particularly with trying to graduate on time because you lose credits typically when you go from one institution to the next. And so I think anything that's done with a level of governance can be a benefit. And like anything else, if you don't govern it, it can get out of hand. But no, I'm a proponent of the NIL as well as the transfer portal.
Coach,
is, Les.
Well, I'm just going to ask the coach, do any of the former Duke players ever come back? I know you've only been there a short time, but an acquaintance of mine who was a phenomenal wide receiver at Duke into the late 70s, early 80s by the name of Cedric Jones. I'm just curious to know if you've ever met CJ at all, and has he popped his head in around the Duke campus at all?
Don't think I've had the privilege of meeting CJ.
Okay.
Definitely look forward to it. But yeah, we've definitely seen our fair share of former players come back. Daniel Jones actually had a chance to come speak to the team this spring. Jamison Crowder was here this summer, during the summer camp, football summer camp, had a chance to meet him. And during our recruiting visits in the summer, we always have what we call player panels to where we bring in former players to talk to prospective student athletes and their parents about their experience here at Duke. And so, yeah, there are a lot of former Duke players that are obviously doing tremendous things here locally, in this greater area here in North Carolina. And so, again, we encourage these guys to come back all the time to be around the program. And then we have a handful of guys in the NFL right now, that we want to continue to encourage to come around. Graham Barton, who's starting as a rookie with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, basically did his training here, after the combine, so he spent a lot of time here. And so, again, I think with Coach Diaz's open arms policy, the former players feel that this is their program and that they're welcome back.
All right, Al, you got one more for Coach because he's got to go call those recruits. He's got them on the phone. So you got one more for Al?
I just want to thank Willie again for taking the time to show us some love, man. Wish you nothing but the best, man. Your first-class act. And I tell you what, I'm looking forward to you getting that call of me hearing that, hey, Willie got that job at that school, and he's off and running. Proud of you, man.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's all on God's timing. And I'm enjoying this time in my life. Again, just amazing family, amazing situation here. My wife loves it here. She's a country girl, so she raised about how green North Carolina is. Florida may need to take a page out of North Carolina's book about preserving the environment because everything is so green around here. You just feel the freshness in the air. Even recycling, you can't even put trash bags in a recycling bin. Like it has to be straight cans and paper, or they're not gonna take it out. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those places that really, really commit themselves to keeping the environment safe. But again, just so blessed to be in this situation. Was blessed to lead FAMU for those 6 years. Met some amazing people. Obviously, Al, you and I go way back, but just the support that you and your family have shown me. Your wife sent me a Facebook request the other day, so I don't know if it was her or somebody hacked her, but I finally got a Facebook request from my favorite fan. Till I said hello. But again, just honored to be on tonight, and you guys keep doing a great job, and hopefully I can jump on again at some point this season.
Well, Coach, I'm right down the road from you. I'm in Wilmington, so we won't have to make the trip up to Duke to catch that game this year. But thanks for taking the time out. Really appreciate it. Best of luck this week against UConn on Saturday. So, again, thanks so much. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Willie.
Okay, that's Coach Willie Simmons. We'll be back with more Al Chester and Benny the Book right around the corner.
Millie's Ice Cream Shop, a full-service store in the Waterford Shopping Plaza of Leland, offering an array of tasty treats, including both hard and soft ice cream in a variety of flavors and delectable combinations to appeal to even the discerning palate, assured to put a big smile on everyone's face. Stop by today to enjoy your satisfying experience. High Tide Chiropractic, located in Leland, North Carolina, off Village Road. Dr. Levi Bradburn and his team specialize not only on spinal and extremities care, but also focus on sports injuries and a variety of chronic ailments. Treatment plans may include diet and lifestyle behavioral modification to achieve optimal health. Call us to schedule your free consultation, and we will design a personalized program to meet your needs. It's time to get the results you deserve.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I am your host, Les Swartz. The man to my right is one of my co-hosts, Al, the Rattler Chester, my man in Jacksonville. And we are going to bring on our third member of our team, another co-host. We've got Benny the Book, the King of Carolina, if we can kind of get him in here. And we got him in there wearing his New York
Yankees doing tonight.
All right.
Great.
Good seeing you, Benny.
Hey, great individual, man. Love his outlook on life and relationships. Really sounds like it's very intelligent. He's going to go far, like you said, Al, in the coaching ranks. He's going to get that.
Class, no doubt.
He's going to get one of those big jobs.
Hey, while we're patting people on the shoulder, Al, you know who Coach Simmons reminds me of?
Who?
You.
You think so?
I think so too. I was thinking that while I was watching the interview. Yes,
it's me and you.
Right on spot.
It's a quarterback thing. That's what it's all about.
Maybe it's a quarterback. At first,
it's that FAMU thing.
FAMU.
He's a first-class guy.
FAMU. Well, I was a little upset at the very beginning. You said, "Oh, I'm not the best quarterback out here," and I was like, "Well, what about me? What about me? I didn't play. I didn't play any quarterback. Come on." But listen, guys, that was a great interview. Coach Simmons. Love to see Duke go 3-0 and take UConn apart this weekend. Sorry, you Husky fans.
Thank God Notre Dame doesn't have to play Duke.
I was going to say, let's start off the show. I know, Benny, we're going to get into the pick segment. We're gonna preview a little college. We're going to get into the HBCU game of the week and the Rattler recap. So let's do that real quick. Al, let's do the Rattler recap. You had you had an unenviable task this weekend against the University of Miami, Florida Hurricanes, right? With a team that potentially is a national championship team, definitely a playoff team, and a quarterback that is going to be on most people's Heisman ballots this year. So tell us about what the mood was like down in South Florida and kind of what you saw out of the Rattlers, but also what you saw out of the Hurricanes.
Well, I tell you what, we know we ran into a buzzsaw. We played one of probably the best teams in the country. I mentioned during the broadcast, Melvin and I talked about it, that 10 weeks from now, we're going to look back at this game and say, we played against this team who will be playing for the national championship and played against a quarterback who will probably be one of 3 or 4 guys sitting in New York for that Heisman Trophy. Cam Ward is a tremendous talent. Willie talked about that portal and how important it is. They've got NIL money through the yin yang, man, but this kid can play. He can spin the football. He's a leader. The guys respect him. You can tell. What I was real impressed with was how fast their defense is. They get from one sideline to the other sideline so quick. And notwithstanding, the Rattlers held their own. We had opportunities. We made some mistakes early in the game that got us behind. So it looked like, they jumped out on us. But, bad reads, players out of position. We had a rough time getting off to a good start. And we always want to get off to a quick start. Great football team. The great news was the sea of orange and green. Both schools share the same colors. So, it was nice to see a stadium full of orange and green. But hats off to all the folks down there. They would treat us like kings and queens down there. And the whole atmosphere was everything we thought it would be. But we got the bag. We got out of there without being hurt. Mm-hmm. And we get a chance now to sit back this week, relax, heal our wounds, take a look, kind of scout ourselves out, see what we need to do to improve, and we move on to our next opponent, which would be Troy in Alabama in a week from Saturday.
Well, let's roll that into the HBCU game of the week. This week, we've got the Morehouse College Maroon Tigers battling a team that I know you're familiar with, the Howard University Bison. I know that FAMU played them in the championship game last year. Morehouse off to a tough start, 0-2 under Coach Terrence Mathis, who was a former All-Pro wide receiver with the Atlanta Falcons. So he made a change. Now last week they were down pretty big in the game. He changed quarterbacks from Patrick Blake to Miles Scott. Not sure who's going to get the start this week, but it's going to be an uphill battle against Howard. What's your take on the game, Al?
Oh, no doubt about it. The STS HBCU game of the week is going to be the third annual HBCU New York Classic. Okay. And this is Morehouse College, the Maroon Tigers, representing the SIAC. They're actually 0-2 right now. They're playing the Howard Bisons out of the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. The head coach for Morehouse, you mentioned, Terrence Matthews, former NFL player. Back in 23, their record was 1-7 in conference play, 1-9 overall. So they're struggling, trying to find themselves. Howard Bisons, of course, their head coach is Larry Scott. Last year, they played Florida A&M for the national championship, if you will. They won the actual MEAC, and should be a good ball game. But Howard should win this game without a problem. Now, every time you line up to play, you expect to win. So anything can happen. But Howard can't take anybody for granted. You take one game at a time. But I tell you what, just as a statement overall for HBCU football, I tell you what, the folks who've seen HBCU football so far this season have enjoyed some great games on TV, man. I tell you what, and I salute all the coaches, and I hope we continue to do the same thing as we move through this 2024 season.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of good feedback on the HBCU game of the week. A lot of people really happy that we're highlighting that. So we love doing it. We're going to continue it. I know Al's picked all the games through the rest of the year, so we're all set. And we'll culminate that with a FAMU defending national championship game at the end of the year. Hopefully, that'll work out great. But Al, we're going to keep you on this segment. Normally, Benny's going to do his picks. We're going to do the picks. We're going to keep you on here real quick. But the big news in college football last week, Notre Dame at home, a 28.5-point favorite, loses to a MAC school, Northern Illinois Huskies. Fantastic game by Northern Illinois. And shout out to John from Naperville. That's where he matriculated to. So I know he was a happy guy dancing around the house in Naperville, seeing the Huskies pull a big upset there, 16-14. But I got to tell you, Benny, I know you watched the game. They weren't really outclassed. I thought they played toe-to-toe with Notre Dame. It wasn't like this surprise thing and Notre Dame fumbled 20 times during the game. No. I thought they played well.
I kind of think they dominated the game. It was like Notre Dame couldn't do anything. You watch the week before when they went to Texas A&M, they started running the ball, and they controlled like the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. They were able to control the ball. A crazy play in the game. They're up 6 minutes to go. They break a run 9 yards, 2nd and 1. They're probably around midfield. He decides to throw a bomb. You're looking to run the clock out. You got 2nd and 1. Get a new set of fresh downs. Riley makes a stupid throw down the middle of the field. The guy throws it short. The guy picks it off, runs it back to midfield. They control the last 4 or 5 minutes, and they kick the field goal to win the game. It's unexplainable. You know, I'm sure he had the guys ready. I mean, but, you know, they're not supposed to lose to Northern Illinois. They could play 1,000 games, and that's the one game they're going to lose.
Well, all I got to say is,
you know what?
Go ahead, Al.
No, once upon a time, you know, back in the day, you would see Notre Dame dominate a team like that. Today, with the portal and the kids transferring, moving around, you know, we talked about it. The landscape is going to kind of start shaping itself out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And but it's a level playing field for the most part. And if you don't bring your A game, anybody can win. That's why I'm saying. I mean, when you line up, you expect to win. And with these kids nowadays, man, it's a total different approach to the game, if you will. Everybody believe they can win. I mean, and they're not intimidated by who you are, who you used to be, or what you've done.
Yep.
Yeah, Newt Rockney's not walking through that door anymore, Benny. Neither is Joe Montana or Rusty Lish and all the bunch of Notre Damers.
Joe Theismann, come on.
Double thumbs down for the Notre Damers. Double thumbs down for the Notre Damers.
Well, at least they're still in the top 25. I don't know what you're going to do with LSU.
Well,
and Bennett, one of the things they talked about with Notre Dame was they had an easy schedule. At least the prognosticators early on said that Notre Dame's schedule is kind of suited for them to run, 10, 11. Unlike the University of Florida.
They have to play 6, I think it's 5 or 6 teams in the ACC, because that's how they got into the basketball ACC program.
Right.
So, but I think they play Georgia Tech. I know that. I don't know who else. They don't play Duke. I know that.
No, they're not playing Duke. They're not playing BC. And they finish off the year with USC, the traditional rival.
Yeah, they play USC.
And
Georgia Tech
are looking pretty impressive right now. Miller Moss lighting it up for USC. Benny, you took it on the chin last week. They put 48 on Utah State. Al, real quick. Any surprises that you see opening couple of weeks? Like, I'm looking at teams like Tennessee that not only I thought Nico, Emilio Lueva, I think was his, if you pronounce it correctly, is a stud. It was only his 3rd start, and he really put up some big numbers after a couple of interceptions. But I'm really impressed with their defense. I mean, Tennessee looks fierce on defense. Like, I think that they could be the best defense in the SEC this year. And I'm not going to say that Georgia's a better football team than Tennessee. I want to see that game when they play.
Well, I tell you what, right now, this time of the year, most times the defense is ahead of the offense. But we always say this: defense win championships, offense sell tickets. And I tell you what, it starts right there. Georgia and Tennessee obviously look good. I tell you, Texas looked good to me last weekend, man. I mean, on offense and both defense, the speed of their players, the high quality play of their quarterback. And I mean, I tell you what, again, in a couple 3 weeks, this thing will settle down, and I think we can kind of start lining some of this stuff up. But there's some great players out there, and they're doing some good things.
The SEC is loaded. You mentioned Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri. Week after week, these teams are going to be playing each other. Something's got to shake up. Something's going to happen. So key injury. You don't know. He might be good. Look at Florida State last year.
That's right.
With that kid, they were right there. And then all of a sudden, they had no offense. Well,
let me ask you guys a question. So, we looked at the Heisman, and in our preseason special with Bob Harris, we talked a lot about, the top players in the country and how they were going to do. And right now, and it's early. Listen, they have the Heisman race before they even played, took one snap, right? But, you got to see one of the guys, Al. You got to see Cam Ward. The transfer at Syracuse, McCord, is playing lights out, 8 touchdown passes in 2 weeks. The running back at Boise State looks like he's the best running back in the country. Ashton Gigi, 192 yards and 3 touchdowns in a last-second loss to Oregon. But that kid is an absolute stud, and if they're taking running backs in the first round, he's going to be the first one to go. You also have to like Quinn Ewers. You just said it. He's played well in big games. He's not scared of the moment, and he goes into the big house, and Benny, they dominated a Michigan team. I know it's not the same team, but they really laid the wood to him.
Yeah. Michigan lost a lot. There's no doubt about it. But hey, Texas lost their two starting running backs, right, and they lost all their receivers, their wide receivers, to the draft, I think. And they just put some new guys in there, and they got the quarterbacks. They got the quarterback. You got to have that quarterback to run the show.
They got a quarterback and they got a backup quarterback. So
that's what they always said about Miami. I mean, offensive. Al said it, that their defensive line, and they supposedly have one of the best offensive lines.
They do
in college football. So right there, you got defense and offensive linemen. Yeah, you're going to be right there.
Al said it starts up front. You push those big uglies around, right?
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. You talked about the speed of Texas and their receivers. One of their receivers from last year ran that reverse for Kansas City and scored a touchdown the other night.
Yeah, exactly.
He showed some big time speed, man. I tell you what, he was moving faster than everybody out there.
He's Tyreek Hill 0.2. I mean, that's what he is. He's Tyreek Hill, and that's what they drafted him to be, really. Yeah. So Benny, we'll keep you here for the Books Corner. So we're going to run up Benny's picks this week. He went 1-4 2-3 in college. Sorry, Benny.
1-4 the first week, 2-3 the second week,
and this week you're going to go
3-2 at least this week.
3-2
It's going to be at least 3-2.
So let's give you
working my way up.
You got 3 picks, your 3-star picks. Let's go with your 3-star picks right off the bat. Let's see what you got.
All right, we're going to start in the SEC. I'm going to take the South Carolina Gamecocks getting a touchdown at home against your LSU Tigers. How LSU is favored on the road,
I know.
It's kind of a quizzical thing. I could be wrong here, but I'm going to take the home team underdog, South Carolina, plus the 7 points.
Al, as much as I'm a Tiger fan, you cut me, I bleed purple and gold, okay? But I'm going to tell you, that was a 23-21 game midway through the third quarter against Nichols last week, and then Nussmeier blew it open with 4 touchdowns, going into the fourth quarter. But LSU has not looked good. They cannot run the football. Benny let me know last week, and it's come to fruition. John Emery, their best running back's out with a torn ACL. That was his 6th year of eligibility. He's done. They have nobody to run the football, and South Carolina looked damn good last week on the road at Kentucky, and they beat them 31-6. So I'm not expecting much from LSU. Maybe they surprised me, but I do like that pick. Benny, what do you got for game 2?
The second game, I'm going to go out to the West Coast with Oregon State getting 16.5 points at home against Oregon. I know Oregon is a team that you really like to be in the Final Four there, but Oregon's played 2 close games so far. Mm-hmm. They haven't looked that good, and Oregon State is historically a very, very good team at home. So it's the state war.
The Civil War. It's the Civil War.
16.5 points at home with Oregon State. I'll take the Beavers plus the 16.5.
Yeah, you like that pick? You think the Beavers can keep this thing close?
Hey man, this time of the year, that's a lot of points, man. That's a bunch right there, man. We'll see how it plays out. I want to get in the mix with you guys probably by week 5 or 6, man. It's so early, anything can happen because I think LSU is going to get South Carolina.
Okay. All right. You heard it, Benny. That was our friends down in Baton Rouge. Donnie, I know you're out there. Our friends in Baton Rouge like what Al had to say. Now, this next game, your third 3-star pick, I know Al's been all over this quarterback. You talked about him.
I know.
Before the season started.
I made a pick thinking that Florida was going to go with that new quarterback that
DJ
I watched.
Lagway.
And Al said he heard that they're going to go back to the old guy. And you know what? Florida at home, getting 4 points. Texas A&M They shellacked somebody that was not that good. Notre Dame ran on them, controlled the ball. I'll take Florida plus the points down at the what do they call it? The
Swamp.
The swamp. I'll take them Gators in the swamp.
Well, hey, first of all, we got Sue and Mike out there.
They're going to eat that Aggies. Well, they're going to chew them Aggies
They're going to chew them Aggies out. Is it an 8-foot Gator? Well, we got Sue and Mike out there, big Gator fans, and I know they like DJ Lagway. He's electric. He lit a fire under him last week. He showed some emotion. The team seemed to respond to him.
They did.
I think going back to Graham Mertz is a massive mistake, especially if you're Napier and you're on the hot seat. Listen, I know he's a freshman, but Al, you said it. This kid's got, in another year or two, he's got Heisman potential written all over him. I say take the gloves off, let him play.
Well, here's the thing. I think that if they go with Graham to start the game, they got Lagway, they got him standing back. So, I mean, it's waiting his turn. But I tell you what, just because he's there, if Graham gets off to a slow start, don't be surprised. They insert this kid, and I tell you what, he's going to light it up. He can make all the throws. He can throw a deep ball. He can run. He makes good decisions, and the kids respond to him well. That's what's key. I think Spurrier kind of alluded to that in his assessment of this ball club after last week's, week before last, that loss.
Mm-hmm. All right, now Benny, you got two-star picks, and one of these I don't know about, but let's go ahead. Let's show the viewers what you got.
All right, listen. Last week,
you went 2-3.
You had somebody come on or told you over the thing that my team was going to get crushed. Losing in double overtime is not getting crushed.
But AP covered. He did cover.
Yeah. And you go with 7 points into overtime. You don't expect to lose. So
what do you got?
All right. So I'm gonna go Arkansas bouncing back against UAB. UAB's 0-2. Arkansas is home. They're gonna blow them out of the Razorbacks are gonna run all over the place on that team.
Okay. All right. You like the Razorbacks. Whose quarterback? Green was the quarterback at Boise State last year. Okay. And another transfer. Everybody that's quarterbacking seems to be a transfer. It's unbelievable. Everyone's transfer. It's unbelievable.
The quarterback room is like musical chairs, man, every year. Yeah. But you're right. All these kids, Miami's quarterback transferred someplace up north, and we got Cam down in Miami now.
He's at Wisconsin. Yeah, he's at Wisconsin. And they got Alabama coming in. Now,
hey, look, Texas got Manning sitting in the seats back there waiting.
Benny, before we have your last pick, I just want to ask both you guys: surprised about Colorado losing 28-10 in Lincoln against the Nebraska Cornhuskers and freshman phenom Dylan Raiola? Does that surprise you guys at all?
Absolutely not. I watched them in their first few games. Their offensive line and the defensive line is the same as it was last year. He's got his son and the wide receiver and defensive back, probably the two of the best players in college football. But there's 22 players on the field, and you ain't winning with two.
Al, that surprised you at all? Yeah. The fact that they still haven't figured a way to protect Sanders.
Well, it disappointed me because, last week against their first game against South Dakota State, I saw some of the same kind of things that Ben is talking about. Yep. So it kind of concerned me, but I said, okay, it's the first game. But now Deion spent a lot of time and energy in that portal trying to beef up that offensive line to protect Shedeur. Shedeur was sacked, I think, 4 or 5 times in the first half of that football game. And that it throws all the rhythm off on everything. So, and it just took the zeal right out. Now, the mindset of these kids are so different now because there's no loyalty. He may have some internal turmoil going on right now because Shedeur made some commentary about his offensive line and some things they weren't doing. And sometimes you don't need to air your dirty laundry in public this early in the season.
Absolutely.
But, I was more disappointed than anything. And knowing Deion, I was expecting him to give some people some bus tickets on Monday morning.
It wouldn't surprise me if that happens after this weekend.
He would definitely do that.
All right, Benny, you got your last pick. Real quick, Jimmy Horn Jr. is one heck of a receiver for Colorado, too, and you're going to see him in the NFL in another 2 years, not just Travis Hunter. That kid's electric.
Fast as lightning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just like his dad. Okay, Benny, your last pick.
We're going to go with Virginia Tech. We're going to go with the Hokies laying 14 points at ODU. ODU. I don't know.
The Monarchs,
ODU.
baby. The Monarchs.
Yeah, the Monarchs. Yeah, the Monarchs. I think they're 0-2 also.
All right.
So
I'm
going to go with
an interstate game too.
Yeah,
those two
and
schools.
Virginia Tech's got a very good quarterback. They could put points on the board. So I'm gonna go with that ACC team.
All right.
Virginia
Well, okay.
Tech.
So you went from 1-4 to 2-3. Let's hope for at least a 3-2 or 4-1 record this year in college. Al, we'll see you. I know you're off this weekend. You got Troy in 2 weeks, but we'll see you a week from tonight. It's going to be basically, it's Ask the Experts. Yeah, that's okay. We are now experts, okay? I am going to say it. I'm not just less the mouth Swartz. I'm an expert here, okay? I'm with you two guys. So we're just going to have everybody next week just shoot us questions. We're going to talk NFL. We'll talk college football, whatever you want to talk about. Throw your questions out. You got a week to prepare to ask questions for Al the Rattler Chester, and I hope there's a lot of them out there. So, Al, we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great week,
Al. Good seeing you.
All right, guys. Be safe. Take care.
We'll be back
Stay dry.
Benny the Book and his NFL picks right after this.
Jim's Pawn and Guns Shop, located at 4212 Oleander Drive, Wilmington's #1 firearms dealer. Sporting a large inventory, including all brands of handguns and long guns, a full stock of accessories, and all types of ammunition. Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop has it all, including the best customer service in the area.
Before the lights go out, call Wilmington Generators. We offer the lowest price and a 10-year warranty for all Briggs & Stratton installations. A Briggs & Stratton powers more of your home for less money. Call for a free quote. Wilmington Generators. We play with power.
Hi, welcome back, everybody. I'm Les Swartz, the man on my right, Benny the Book, the king of Carolina, and this is Swartz Talkin Sports. Benny, NFL, you kicked it last week, brother.
Yeah,
4-0. 4-0.
Yeah, very nice, too. I had a few other ones there, too, that if I didn't go with those four, I think my other two would have won, too. I liked Tampa Bay. They really did a good job.
Look at this. Tony's throwing some confetti down. Look at this, huh? All right, let's hope we go 8-0 now. 8-0 after this weekend. So let's get right to it, Ben. Now, let's give us your first game, and let's let the viewers know what you got.
All right. I got the first game. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens laying a 9.5 against those Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders didn't put up such a good show against San Diego, LA Chargers, and the Ravens, by the slimmest of margins, would have beat the Chiefs at Kansas City.
Yeah.
So Lamar's gonna put up some points. I'll lay the 9.5. They should win that game by 10 or more.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Ravens to really run Henry this week. So I like that pick too. I think the Ravens win that thing by more than 2 touchdowns. All right, let's go to game 2.
I'm going with the state of Texas, the Houston Texans laying 6.5 against the Chicago Bears.
Rowe's not going to like this pick.
The Bears won, but they didn't have an offensive touchdown.
No.
So Williams didn't do anything.
No.
Texans won on the road. They beat a very good Colt team.
Yep.
So I see them continuing to run the ball. He's going to throw touchdowns. They're going to beat that team by more than 7 points.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, Benny. I think
sorry,
the Texans,
Joni. Tell your mom I'm sorry.
Benny, I got to tell you, I think the Texans might be the biggest threat, believe it or not, to Kansas City.
Yeah,
I love Stroud as a quarterback. They have a sound defense, and they have a lot of weapons.
They picked up a lot of good guys. Very good coaching. They're on the way up. They're on the way up. Then they weren't fake last year. They're for real.
I got you. Okay. Now, your third pick's got me scratching my head, and it's going to really get a lot of New Englanders trying to figure out, okay, I know what happened last week, but really? You think it's going to happen 2 weeks in a row? So I know you New England fans. Listen, Joni and I are heading back to Boston tomorrow. We're going to be in New England for this one, so let us know what's going on.
Seattle's coming across the country. They had a tough one at home last week. New England plus... Yeah, they won it. New England plus 3.5. New England they looked good. They didn't. If you don't make, they got a good defense. Their defense was fine.
Yep.
Brissett could win. He's won other places. He's not, he's not like a top-notch quarterback, but if he doesn't make mistakes, they'll be right in the game.
And Ramondre Stevenson ran the football really well last week.
I don't see why they cannot, win this game.
God, our Boston contingent is going to be extremely happy with you unless they lose. Okay, so you got the Pats getting 3.5 at home against the Seahawks, and your favorite quarterback, Geno, West Virginia Smith. And who do you got in the last game? And this is going to be an interesting game. This is
my last game. I'm going to go with Miami minus the 2.5 against Buffalo.
Okay.
I know Buffalo won last week, and I didn't expect them to win. Miami scored points, and hopefully Tyreek Hill will get to the game in time, and he won't get arrested before the game. He had a little time. He still had an 80-yard touchdown, even getting to the game before game time.
Little altercation on the way to the stadium.
But this is a big game in the AFC East.
It is. Hey, listen, based on what we saw from the Jets this past Monday night,
very disappointing. I mean, I took San Francisco. That was my game. But I was very disappointed in the Jet defense.
Yeah, they got pushed around.
Disappointed Jet. Yeah, I mean they ran. They're going to be in trouble this week. The team's going to already told them we're going to run 40 times on you. So but it's a big game for Miami. They got to win this game.
Yeah,
if they want to win the division. This is a game they have to win.
I'll tell you, Buffalo got off to a slow start. They were behind big early, but Josh, he played fantastic.
I think he hurt his hand a little bit too.
I think it was his non-throwing hand, Allen. Yeah. But listen, he threw for 2, ran for 2. I have him on my fantasy team, so he lit up the points for me. But they really came back and they took control in the second half. So to recap, you like the Ravens giving 9.5 against the Raiders. I love that pick. I think the Ravens are going to run roughshod over the Raiders. The Texans 6.5 over the Bears. I can't see Caleb Williams making a major improvement in 1 week. That's not going to happen. The Pats getting 3.5. That, like I said, that's the one that I think Seattle could win that one by a touchdown. But hey, the people in New England loving that pick. And you got the Miami Dolphins. Like I said, memo to Tyreek Hill. Leave an hour early. Go 55. Don't drive 55.
And also roll your window down when the cops come up to the...
That's right. Yeah, tinted windows. Not good in Miami. You want to roll those down when they ask you to do it and not roll it back up. So that's a quick memo. Hey, listen, Ben, before we go tonight, I know we've got something that we're going to be doing on October 16th. You and I are going to be competing in a golf tournament. So our amazing chat girl, Joni... Joni is going to give the little bit of a little presentation on where we're going to be playing and how you out there can also jump in and join the fun and meet Les and Benny in person. So Joni?
any golfers in the Leland, Wilmington area, it's a great tournament. They put on a very good show, and we'd love to come. We'd love to have you come out and play.
Yeah, Swartz Talkin Sports is sponsoring a hole and things. So, Joni, go ahead.
Joni will give you the information.
Yes. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my favorite nonprofit organization in Brunswick County. So the Brunswick County Literacy Council provides free literacy classes to underserved adults in Brunswick County, North Carolina. They do a big service here. So they'll be holding their 34th annual golf tournament at the Lynx Golf Club at Brick Landing in Ocean Isle Beach on October 16th. It's going to be a captain's choice event with a light breakfast, buffet lunch, and prizes. So it'll be a really fun event. If you can come out and register.
It's a great day. It's a lot of fun. Be with everybody.
Yes.
And hey, should be a nice day.
Listen, STS is sponsoring a hole and also going to be giving out the prizes for the winners of each flight. There'll be 3 flights. There'll be a men's flight, there'll be a mixed flight, and a women's flight. So
I told you before, maybe you should have the winners on. We could put them on the show.
Well, I don't know if we're going to put them on, but we'll take a picture. We'll take a picture of that for
we will.
That's right.
We'll have them on Swartz Talkin Sports. Absolutely. Yes. But listen, tonight, great show. Thanks, everyone out there, for tuning in. If it's the first time, hit that subscribe button, comment, like, let us know what you're doing. We continue to get fantastic guests. Next week, it's just going to be Benny, myself, and Al. We're going to kick it. We want to get your questions out there. Ask the experts. We'll do the best we can to answer them. And then in 2 weeks, just teasing you a little bit. I know a lot of you out there are not huge wrestling fans that watch the show all the time, but we're actually going to do a show on pro wrestling, the North Carolina Wrestling Association. We're going to be promoting their upcoming card on October 3rd. We've got AJ Francis, TNA wrestler, former WWE, also played 7 years in the NFL and was a star at the University of Maryland. So we'll have him on the 25th. So for our special guest tonight, Coach Willie Simmons of the Duke Blue Devils. For Al the Rattler Chester, Joni, our amazing chat girl, Benny the Book Stamilli, and my amazing producer, Tony the Tiger Smirali. This is Les Swartz. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.